Hello, hi, how are you guys? Let's see how we make out today. We're going to make this little card that is a pop-up um, card with it sits on a base and it has a little mechanism so that it has an aperture that pops up and out, making a little shadow box. And lies flat, of course, to ship away. I saw an idea like this online from a die cut, actually. So I am improvising without a die cut and using a few pieces of paper to stabilize and seeing how it goes. So let's get started. We're going to use Misty Moonlight today, and there's a few pieces of paper we need this time, which is kind of crazy, so that's okay. Using some die circles. I cut a circle framelit, I guess you'd call it, to go around the aperture part out of a navy blue, Night of Navy. You're going to need to have a piece of DSP for the front, as well as either a DSP for this back piece, or I embossed in this case a piece of white. It is, although I have the whole thing on a white card base, it is a separate piece, and it is from experimenting with it, it is 4 1/8 by 5 and mostly a half, but make it a shade or two lighter than the full length. And that just helps with making these hinges just tuck in a little bit nicer than if you do it the full size of the card, which is the way that this one is originally done. And you do get a little bit of the hinge poking out. So I have modified it since, and it turns out very nicely that way. You will need, of course, to be cutting out the central area. You're also going to have, so those are my two decorative pieces, kind of, 3 pieces that are decorative. And then you have a bunch of decorative pieces. The aperture size needs to be big enough to obviously fit an ornament type of situation that you're going to put in there. You can use poinsettias. You could use a lantern from like the light your up your life or such with Stampin' Up! Products. In this case, of course, I used a straight out in ornament. That's from a more recent set. And then a bunch of little stuff to decorate. So that's cool. You're going to want to have a 5 1/2 by 11. No, well, you do want a 5 1/2 by 11. You're going to cut that at 5 1/2 by 8 1/2 and scoring that at 4 1/4. And then you're going to take another piece of paper, which is 5 1/2 by 4 1/4, a full quarter sheet of it. Okay. And that is going to be your front sheet. From that last piece that's on that square, you're going to cut off a 1 1/4 inch wide and cut them into 2-inch pieces. And we'll get started with that right off the bat and score those so that's done and out of the way. So sort of, I'm going to think this might be the little bit of the fussiest part in that we definitely want them to be nice and even. So and we're going to score it every 1/2 inch. So at 1/2, at 1, and at 1 1/2. So at 1/2, at 1, and at 1 1/2. So all 4 pieces. Again, they're 1 1/4. Ooh, that went wiggly. Why? They're 1 1/4 by 2, and along the 2-inch side, scoring every 1/2. So 3 score lines on each of those. And while I have this out here, I will score that 5 1/2 by 8 1/2 piece to make a card base at 4 1/4. From there, and then fold this and make it smaller and get it out of the way here. We'll be setting this aside. Little trick, if you happen to have some copy paper from your computer right handy, not so much on lighter paper, but if you cover up your paper, the shine that you sometimes get from using your bone folder can be protected by using the copy paper. So that's kind of fun. Now these pieces here, you're going to fold them in half to begin with. And I would say, although they may not want to line up perfectly to begin with, make sure that you fight with that, fold that little tiny bit and make them go edge to edge. And I think that way then your card will for sure lie down nice and flat. So you're going to fold that, and then you're going to fold this guy back. And again, I've got quite a large edge there. That's not anything except basically just going on the kind of the wrong side of the score line, if you know what I mean. Sometimes the score line gets in the way. When you're using the machine like that, it's nice because you can be assured that you haven't gone one side or the other of the measurement. It's just that when you go to fold it, it just wants to fold a little bit different than you want it to be. So then when you fold it up, you're going to fold it into a Z, and that's what you don't want is something like that. You want it to be nice and tidy and neat. If your edge is really nice here, you could probably just trim that little tiny bit edge off. We're going to check in 1 second and see if I need to fight with that a little bit. I have a little tiny bug. Do you see that little guy? He's like, go away, little man. All right, so again, folding it in half. My half is folding nice. So sometimes you just have to fight with it just that little tiny bit, but you just want them to be nice and square and neat. And you're just going to manipulate the folds, the fold lines a little tiny bit to make that happen. So there, for instance, that one's crooked. Well, there's no reason for it to be crooked. It was in there totally square. So I'm just going to make it work, let's say. And then burnish nicely. And sometimes if it's not going the way you want it to, if you fold it the opposite way, then the line, the cardstock fibers have broke a little bit, and it makes it easier to manipulate. So when you stack them all together, they'll all be nice and look like they're all belong. And this one might have just been that smidgen longer in this case. So I am in this case going to just trim off that little tiny bit. You can't trim if it's on the fold, any of the folds. But this one here, I think it might just be, well, it'll be. I feel like it might just be you won't be able to see me, but I feel like it's going to be just more than the two. So when I measured it, it was exactly the two. I thought when I was cutting them, it's possible that I didn't cut it at two, but so I just refolded the center square a little tiny bit better, and then pushed and squared him up so that now he's perfectly square. So no scissors, no scissors required in that case. So now you have 4 little, what I'll call the hinges or mechanisms, whichever way works for you, and a card base. I'm going to set those aside because we're not going to use them for a few moments. We're going to bring in our top piece and the piece of DSP that we want to use as well. And we are going to go ahead and glue this straight onto that piece of cardstock. You could use this, could be an embossed piece if you wanted. We are wanting to stabilize it a little tiny bit with the cardstock, basically, is one of the reasons. Plus, it's nice to have the border for framing and whatnot. And so I'm going to put this on here. So this is a 4 by 5 1/4 piece of DSP onto the 5 1/2 by 4 1/4 piece of cardstock. I glued just around the edges. I'm going to be using the smaller inside circle to cut this. And I will pause the recording. Do that. So to make the framelet, I used the larger circle, this nesting set, and then when you go to cut your aperture, you're gonna use a smaller one so that then the frame can go around. So by not gluing in the middle of it, I now have 2 pieces of cards, the, circles with all fancy that I can use again on another card. Probably need to come back in. It's kind of nice. So you can snap this back into place. Just do line it up so that the little dickies are all in order, but run that back through again and you can then have those for 2 extra cards, which is nice. Then this piece here can get glued onto here, so that's pretty. And I do just need to pop out a couple more of these guys. This card I think is going to be kind of sweet um, to stand on someone's island. They'll be able to see the little ornament hanging, so it'll be kind of fun. I always wish that all these things will just fly out, but they don't always. So you gotta pop the last few out always. Makes a difference. And we're gonna glue this guy around the outside of this. And then I'll carry on with that. Put some glue on here. Just when you think you have them all of a sudden there's another one. You're like, oh, how did I miss that? This guy is being persistent. I think that's it for real this time. So applying glue over all of these little pieces. Do, 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 do. So with our group, of course, I think one of the fun things is using different products that we have from our stash from different years. This paper, actually, I kind of feel like it might be still available, but definitely I picked these guys up probably when they were on sale one time, just because they definitely stood alone. But even if they didn't, they're super fun. And sometimes, like the different greenery and the snowflakes that I used, definitely from a combination of different things that we had. Just popping out one more of those guys. Okay, so now popping this guy on here and making sure that he's not getting stretched or too much out of shape. Line him up. Nice. And then just double checking that he's all nice, and he is. Perfect. Lovely. That's nice. And then I think I am choosing to put that. So I'm putting him, he is a foil from a few years ago as well, I believe. Iridescent foil. Going to glue him onto this navy blue as well. This paper says, on the back of all our paper, of course, it says what the colors are. And I was surprised that this GSP doesn't say it has navy on it, but it sure looks like it's navy. I don't know if it's some variation of blueberry bushel and misty moonlight together or not, but line up my top and that. Oh, I love this set. So when I was putting this together, my original one, I used a firm so he doesn't move because it's glued in there. But I'm going to use a piece of ribbon this time. And I think, so I could use a silver ribbon, which looks kind of fun, or I could just use white. And I was thinking white might be kind of nice just for crispness. So I'm just going to put it through that guy and add a little extra. I don't need too much because I don't have too much room at the top there. Ooh, glue down. So get rid of that and those guys. And I'm going to just hang him down a little bit. And so I'm just going to put adhere that at the back. And I've got some glue dots somewhere handy here. I always think, and then they're not there when I need them to be. What the heck? I'm going to put it one glue dot to kind of glue these together. Actually, going to do this way. Nice. And then click on. And I'm going to secure it with a piece of tape actually as well. Let's hope that that's not too far up. Might be. So, to hang there. Maybe a little bit lower than I want it to be. Oopsie-doo. And is it square? Feels like it is. Okay. And then perhaps a little bow. So currently we have our Wednesday meeting each week to make the cards, and that makes that pretty fun. The inspiration of seeing all the different papers from all the different years and all the different ideas from the different crafters that are in the group is pretty cool, I think. And then all the different products that many of us are like, oh, forgot that we had that. So then it's kind of fun. Not so much forgot that we had it, but not using it kind of, right? All right, so that's sort of the front. We'll go ahead and I'm going to add a few of these kinds of things on here. I got some blueberry bushel and some in peacock. I was trying to think how much I wanted to put on here. So I'll give a little rough idea, but I'm going to come back in here and glue it down after I get it all put together. I will show you now how it's put together, and then there'll be the thumbprint will be the final version of how I end up gluing the front on for decoration. You also could add little words, and I think I have in this case, actually, the way that I've got this going so far, I'm not sure that "'tis the season" is what I was going to put on here, but I do have a little "'tis the season," which I quite like, and I could work with that. Oh yeah, that'll be nice. Okay. So something like that is the way that the card will look eventually. I'm going to show you how we're going to put it together mechanically, and then I will look forward to seeing how you do yours. Okay. All right. So now we have the front. This is the back. This one again is 4 1/8 wide by pretty much the 5 1/2. If I put it on here, you'll see it's in a little tiny bit. I'm going to glue it mostly up to the top. Oopsie, up to the top. And there's just a bare smidgen at the bottom as well. So it's just about to the top and the bottom. I could have had it a little tiny bit more even, but that way then when you're looking at it, it looks really, really nice. So it's this piece now that we're going to work with and our glue. And we're going to take our 4 little hinges and we're going to glue on the inside of these guys and attach them to this piece. So, oh, that glue went flying too onto the floor. Come back. Oh my goodness. Did go flying it. Way over. So you're going to put it, and you don't want to necessarily be sparse. You don't want it to be gobby, but you want it to have enough glue because this is going to get moved back and forth. And in this case, I don't have it right at the top, so I'll just smear it up there. So tucking it in. And what you do want to do is fold it once you get it to the end of it. So you're putting it to the end. Oopsie, bounce ya. And then, well, I really did a number with the glue there actually. So placing it in there and then folding it over and pressing it. So it's to the top of here, or not in this case. There it is. Okay, to the top and to the side, and then just fold it, because otherwise if you leave it there, it'll be like, oh, maybe I forgot that. So again, holding that and that inside piece to glue. And then making sure that it closes. All four sides. To the edge and to the top. To the edge and to the top. And I've chosen to do this the same color as my card base. So right to the corner and all in. Now I'm going to flip it over and I'm going to put glue on the entire back side. Taking my card base, I'm going to put that onto here. Again, it's going to be just in a little bit on the sides, mostly just about to the very top of the card. And gluing that down. And at the bottom as well. It's just barely off. Ooh, shift, shift. Blinded by the light. Great. Okay. Nice. And I'm just going to glue one at a time, but I am going to now, when I put this on, because again, it's a full quarter panel, I'm not going to square it up to this little inside. This guy will not go straight to the corner like that, because he needs to have just a little smidge. So I'll just be lining him up so that he fits the entire front of the card. There's not a lot of difference there, but there's just going to be that little smidge of difference. A hair or two. So I could do two of them at the same time, but I think I'll just do the one. And I'm bringing him in. And again, I want him to be, I want this guy to be not to the corner of the hinge, but to the corner of the card. So that I'm watching that this is all lined up. And that all the way around, he will be. So if you do the first two, the next one should all work out. So again, gluing that guy, pushing him down, and making him square. And I'm just checking that he's square all the way to the whole card, which he should well be. And just continuing to glue the tabs. Doing one at a time, but flattening it each time to make sure that indeed he will lie flat in the envelope that you want to send him in, because we want to send this to make good cheer. So the final gluing should definitely be held for a few minutes, letting dry, but making sure that he's all square before everything's really firm. And that's beautiful. Yay! It's nice and dry. And then what you have is your hinges definitely nice and hidden. You should never have a little bit of problem with them hanging out. And beautiful card with a little bit of extra accenting stuff. And then the inside you can finish off with a nice white piece and another couple pieces of something fun and beautiful, and your card will be complete. So hopefully that made some good sense for you. Like I said, just the finishing decorative touches, and you'll see that in the thumbnail for this. Thank you very much for hanging out with me. We'll call this the Lori pop-up version of a fun little card. A couple little things that I did notice for myself, other than the nice leaving that little tiny bit to just allow whatnot. The obviously the hinges are hidden on that one. You can see them there, but because that's the same color, it's very hard to see, and nobody's going to be looking at the card like that anyways. So A. And the other thing I liked was the open spacing here. You could make it continuous all the way along an entire sheet of the hinge, but I kind of like that there was the light and the ability to see through. There was something appealing to that, that you can, it's a complete peekaboo card that way. So that's quite fun. Love it. All right. Another version that I had in chocolate, and also not completely finished because that's my MO, but also very pretty idea. Again, with that similar guy. And then again, that one. So I look forward to seeing on the Facebook group, the private Facebook group, the other girls will be showing their card ideas, how they decorated it, the finished looks of it, what words they used, and which kind of different ornaments and whatnot that they used as well. All right. Thanks so much for hanging out with us. I'll see you guys next week. Bye-bye.